Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Handegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Rufino's on Highland Road, welcome to the Friday edition. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Handegriff along with Jimmy Ott, Max Gotro, Barry the bartender. Jordan Kinch is back in the studio. We got a full lineup on Friday. Chris Macero, Troy Macker, Bruce Marshall, Ace Seminara, and Ace is out today. I'm sorry. He's a death in the family. So Ace won't be with us. But the rest of and I think we got a special guest coming up here in just a few minutes that we'll tell you about. And that is going to involve LSU Gymnastics, who yesterday, very exciting national semifinal yesterday, in which the number 2 LSU Gymnastics team took a lead after the first rotation, fell into second place after the second rotation, fell into third place after the third rotation, and the math was getting a little hairy going to the final rotation, which was the floor, where LSU is number 1 in the country. So if you're not familiar with the scoring as far as the tournament, you have to finish in this top 2 to get into the Final Four, which is going to be tomorrow afternoon. And LSU and Florida were the favorites in this national semifinal against Georgia and Stanford. But going to that rotation, that final rotation, Georgia had the lead. And when LSU opened up with a 9-7, 9-7-3, it was no margin for error in what they had left, and going to that final rotation where they're number 1 in the nation on the floor, and they had Kaylin Chio running the 5-hole, and she had to nail it, and she did. It wasn't her highest score of the year. In fact, it was one of her lower scores on the floor because she's Superwoman. But she came in 9-8, and that was enough to put LSU into second place. And Georgia's last vault was inconsequential. So, Jimmy, I've been watching these meets for a while now. I'm a little bit more comfortable with following the scoring and what you take, and it was the math was getting tough. I'm sitting there. And, of course, this is down to the hundredths of the point. I don't know if they're going to get there. And last year, Kaylin Chio was very emotional after the meet. Talking with the sideline reporter, said, listen, this happened to us last year. We were the favorites last year, and we lost out in the national semifinals. And, going that last rotation, she said, we gathered up and said, this is not going to happen to us again. And it was real leadership, because not only did she say it, then she went out and did it.
No, that's
reminded me a little bit of Blair Barbier.
Everybody has that talk.
Yeah, right. When Barbier got him in the dugout and said, "We ain't going down like this," and then he got up and had an 8-pitch at bat and homered.
You got to lead by example too.
Right, yeah. And she did. And she's not the most vocal, as I understand it, most of the time, but she was yesterday, and so they edged Georgia to get into the national finals tomorrow, and then a big upset last night. Not Oklahoma; they cruised, but UCLA with Jordan Childs, the Olympic gold medalist. Now she was great, but her teammates had some pretty bad screw ups especially in the vault, where one of their gymnasts fell down. That's down to a 9-2, and then another had a bad. What do you call it, landing, and got a 9-5. So they did kind of 9-5, which is basically going to crush you. And Minnesota, who's the lowest seed in the tournament remaining, gets into the Final Four, their first time ever. So an upset there on the other side. We thought that the 4 favorites, Scott Rabelais, who is on this beat, has been telling us this for a while, that the 4 teams with a real chance to win the national championship were the 3 SEC teams and UCLA. Well, UCLA didn't get there last night, so it'll be LSU, Florida, Oklahoma, and Minnesota in the finals tomorrow. That's a 3 o'clock start on ABC. And like I said, I'm not going to pretend to be a gymnastics expert, but the score LSU came in with yesterday, 197-437, is considerably lower than some of their best efforts on the season. And they're capable of going 198-3. They've done it before. And that's probably what it's going to take tomorrow, somewhere around 198-2, 198-3. The judging is tighter here at the Nationals, but they've done that on the road before. Florida's now beaten them 3 straight times. Maybe LSU's due because they're all close. Florida beat them in Gainesville, beat them in Tulsa at the SEC Championships, and beat them yesterday. But that doesn't mean they're all right there. I mean, the margin is so very close.
Margin was close yesterday, huh?
The margin was very close. To get them in yesterday, they were a lot
closer
closer
this time.
They were a lot closer to Georgia than they were to Florida. But yeah, they came through, and it was very, very nerve-wracking yesterday.
Well, let Coach decide. Explain all that for us.
I will, because he's going to be with us. Jay Clark's going to be with us here in a minute.
Yeah, stick to what we know, huh? I tried to talk Colucci off that play last. I thought it was too risky. Just do a money line parlay.
And
you have to do puck line.
And he puck lined the last 2, and they both came through. The Oilers easy, and the Avalanche late got there 2-0. So
Anaheim late. That was a fun game to watch. I watched it, and
they were down 4-3 and ended up winning 5-4.
What's going on? It's falling apart. Then they're down, and then they tie it up, and then they take the lead. It was a cool last night of NHL. When you hit 11:50 parlay.
Yeah,
how about the Colucci man, huh?
I woke up with a smile on my face and a song in my heart. I love Colucci.
I think the NHL doubleheader, the St. Louis Blues pulled it out, and then the Colorado, and they were out shooting them, and finally. But anyway, hey, Colucci time, baby. Plus 1150.
That was very, very nice. Both home teams win in SEC baseball last night.
I watched some.
Yeah. Arkansas and Florida, both identical scores, 6-3.
Watched Clemson and Virginia last night as well. Clemson, disappointing, but getting hotter. But for Virginia, it was kind of back and forth, a couple of lead changes, and Virginia wins at home. So light schedule in college baseball last night for sure.
LSU will entertain Texas A&M tonight in the first of a 3-game series that is crucial to LSU's postseason aspirations. They got a long way to go, but they've got enough games that'll get them there if they are able to win. So we'll talk a little bit about that during the show today.
14 and 16, huh? That's
what I think they need to get to.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. History tells us that.
Because if they get to 14, it will involve, if you're worried about the RPI, to get to 14 wins in the conference, it will involve enough wins over top 20 RPI teams to boost it. So get that win total, you'll probably be
We're
okay.
live at Rufino's today. Here are appetizer features today. The scallops, goat cheese, a Purma, strawberry pepper jelly, crispy prosciutto. That's over here. The whipped ricotta, toasted pine nuts, basil oil, za'atar, basil oil, focaccia toast to go with that. So, boy, Chef Patrick always diversifies the specials that we have over here and lets his creative skills go to work. Our entree features this weekend. This is an addition to our regular menu, full menu here at Rufino's for Friday lunch and for dinner this weekend. But the 20-ounce dry-aged pork chop with braised collard greens, tomato agrodolce. Suggested wine pairing is a Morgan Pinot Noir out of Santa Lucia. In the steak feature today, the 8-ounce filet, bone marrow butter demi with a glazed carrot. Suggested wine pairing is a Frank Family Cabernet out of Napa. We're doing a smoked maple old-fashioned this weekend, house barrel-aged, bacon-washed, Old Forester bourbon, maple syrup, orange bitters with a smoked finish. So we got that going on over here as well. So we did have to adjust our lineup. Our buddy, professional sports gambler Chris Macero, he's on his way to Arizona to try and make some mobile bets. He's in California, so he's limited. So he's on his way to Arizona to make some mobile bets. And so we'll try and reconnect with him about 12:15 or 12:30 today. So we apologize, but we just got some late communication back with us that we might be able to get Coach Clark on in just a couple of minutes.
We're making game adjustments. We can do that.
We're new at this, Charlie.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, let's go out to Fort Worth. Head coach Jay Clark joins us right now. Taking time from his busy schedule. Not a whole lot going on. Coach, congratulations on advancing. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. We're a tired bunch today, but we get a little recovery today, and we didn't make it pretty, but we did enough, and glad to be in it tomorrow.
Yeah, and I was on with Matt yesterday. It was kind of giving out the picks late at the end of his show, right up before 6 o'clock, and it was kind of you advance, and whether the pitcher doesn't have his best stuff or that team in March Madness, and I'm trying to make analogies to sports that I'm more knowledgeable in. But when you can advance without your best stuff, when you can win without your best stuff, is that what it was yesterday?
Absolutely. I mean, and I think it's a testament to where this team can be. But yeah, we were kind of sleepwalking a little bit on a couple of events, and it took us kind of getting jarred loose a little bit before the last event to kind of close it out. But it's exactly what it was, and I don't know, sometimes different factors can be a part of that. I think they got a little tight. You got to remember, a lot of our production last year and this year were freshmen and sophomores that lived through the semifinal we were through last year. So I think they were feeling it. They wanted it a little too much, and were pressing a little bit, and just needed to settle down, and finally did.
That's the fun part of it, man. On the big stage, you don't know what how it's going to affect, but for positive or negative, the athletes. But a lot of different parts. I've seen a little bit and watched a little bit and know a little bit about your program. You got some different parts moving in that operation, brother. You got some things moving. It's a lot of dynamics, but how does it match up? You're certainly familiar with all the participants here.
Well, I think Oklahoma probably is the prohibitive favorite, just by the way that they have gone through this year and came in the number one seed. I think that they still would be considered the favorite. I think Florida has been very, very hot of late, but our team is fully capable. We've got everything we need to contend for this thing, and we're gonna go out there and swing hard, and just keep punching the whole way. I gave them the analogy yesterday. Let everybody else hit these home runs. Let's just swing the bat. I was giving them a baseball analogy. Base hits. That's all we need. Just base hits. Stay steady, because our team is probably the most complete team. We're the only team in the country that was ranked in the top three all year long on all four events. And so I think we're a very complete team. We're not a team that may blow you out on a particular event or another, but in terms of consistency and being at or near the very top on every event, we've got that kind of team. So I like our chances. We're going to go out there and give it our best shot and see what we get.
Coach, going to the final rotation last night, you were behind Georgia for the number 2 spot. You're the number 1 team in the nation on the floor, and you open up 9-8-6, 9-7-7, and I'm sitting there trying to do the math in my head. I'm going, this is getting tight here. What's going through your head? Now, you got your guns going with the last 4 spots, but the math at that point, what were you thinking that you needed to have with Georgia on the vault at that point?
Well, when we left Beam, I felt pretty good. When the final 2 did what they did on Beam, Connor and Kalen did what they did on Beam, in the math, we were less than half a tenth behind, and I felt pretty confident that if we could just settle down and be kind of our normal, then we'd be fine, because vault is a tough event to finish on, because you just absolutely have to plant your landings over there, and there's a whole lot less variables that are going to determine a score over there versus going to floor where we were, and knowing that we were as good a floor routine as we are, I felt pretty confident that we were going to climb over them if we could just not get out of our own way more than anything, which is what we'd been doing all day. So I felt pretty good about it. I didn't know exactly what it would take, but I knew that we were in a good spot at that point, even though we were still down by about half a tenth.
Could you also talk about the performances of Kalia Lincoln and Connor McClain, because they both came in with injuries, especially Connor, and you needed them both, and they were terrific yesterday.
They were. I mean, Connor gutted it out. It was touch and go all the way up through warm-ups. We were still checking in and making sure that she could go. And if we had to go today, she probably couldn't go. But fortunately, we don't have to go today. So we're getting her lots of treatment and trying to tape her up with duct tape and Band-Aids and see if we can get back out there tomorrow and do it again. But she's a gutsy kid. She put on an incredible performance last night. Especially in spite of where she's been physically over the last several weeks, and Kalia the same way. I mean, they're amazing kids, great athletes, but more than that, just great competitors. And when they get drawn down and laser focused, they pretty much can block out anything and get it done. And I'm supremely confident in both of them.
I know this is not your favorite thing to talk about, but I have to ask you about Kaylin Chio. And as emotional as she was, Coach, and the reason you don't like to talk about it is because you prefer to focus on the team, and we certainly understand that. But she's had a historic season, and I was really taken by her emotion in the post-meet interview when she talked about gathering the team and having that talk before the last rotation, saying last year's not going to happen to us again, and showed real leadership, and then went out and nail a routine.
She did, and Chio's always been one that sets an example with her actions and what she's done, but she's never been overly vocal, and she's not been one that really asserts herself. In the team meetings an awful lot and that kind of thing. So when she pulled them together and did that after Bounce Beam, and it was emotionally charged. I mean, she lit them up, and it got everybody's attention. And I think it's exactly what we needed going into that final rotation. And she showed great leadership in that moment. And when it comes to things like that, I do like talking about individuals because I love to see them assume the responsibility for their team and make sure that they speak when it needs to be spoken, and she did a great job of that last night, not only with her performance, but with her words and getting everybody's attention and making sure that we didn't allow that thing to slip away.
Is that something having Haley on staff that kind of she maybe has encouraged her to do a little bit because she has been in a similar position? Yeah,
I think with a lot of them, Haley, they look at Haley still, from a leadership standpoint. They revere her so much as a former teammate. I think she has been instrumental in a lot of them showing growth. I mean, we're still a relatively young team in terms of production, and they do respect her. They remember her as a teammate and how she conducted herself, and I think it has rubbed off on them quite a bit. Both with Chio and with Connor, with Lexi Zeiss, who has really stepped into a leadership role as well, and so many others. Kylie Cohen has done an amazing job with that, too. So, I do think Haley has been an advantage for us that way.
Coach, in the second semifinal last night, going to the final rotation, Minnesota had to come from behind just like your team did, except for them, this is their first time ever to get to the finals. And they had a great routine on the bars, but UCLA, who was a favorite, had a couple of real poor routines on the vault, and what you were talking about earlier, the pressure of finishing on the vault. And the favorite Bruins didn't get there. I was wondering what you thought of the results last night in the second semi.
Well, I mean, you see finishing on vault is tough. We had that rotation at SECs, and so we selected to start on floor tomorrow, and I think that's a great event for us to get off to a fast start. But Minnesota's a great story. They kind of came out of nowhere. They really built late in the season, sort of climbed up in the rankings. Nobody really anticipated them doing what they've done. They've gone on a run here that has been really kind of cool. It's good for our sport when you see those kinds of things happening, and it shows that the parity and the depth that has grown in the sport that hasn't always been that way. And so they came in here with nothing to lose, and they've been swinging for the fence, and it's been coming up for them. And I know that's a new staff. Jenny Hansen is the head coach, but she's got an all-new staff this year, and a lot of times that doesn't go well the first year, but it's gone well for them, and I'm happy for them. They're good people.
So you say you got the draw for tomorrow. You're opening on the floor.
Yeah.
What's the rotation? Full rotation
so
tomorrow.
We'll go floor, then vault, then bars, and we'll finish on beam. Coincidentally, it's also the same rotation we had in 24. when we won.
I was going to say.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not why we selected it. I really, traditionally, I probably would have selected to start on bars. As the overall number 2, we got to pick second where we wanted to start. Oklahoma decided to start on vault. But with this team, I feel like getting off to a fast start is really important. And statistically, if you just look at all of our events, I think it's probably the best rotation we could have. Get the first 2 under our belt, feel good about where we're at, hopefully at that point, and then be able to finish strong. Because we are very strong on bars and beam as well, but we tend to start a little slower when we start on those 2 events. So I think this is a better rotation for us.
I remember being very nervous. The national championship team going into the beam. I can imagine what you feel like, but you know what? It worked out, and hey, look, we're behind you because this was a great. Go ahead.
Here's the thing: you got to do all 4 of them, right? I mean, there's just no.
Yeah, right.
So a lot is made of where you start or where you finish, but in any case, you got to do all 4 of them. So we can't run from any event. But I just felt like it was it's important for this team right now to get off to a fast start, and I think Florida is the best place for us to do that.
Kind of settle y'all in, huh?
Yeah.
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 Go ahead, Charlie.
Coach, the scoring a little bit tighter at the Nationals, or am I imagining that? Is that pretty much what you expect when you get to this level?
Yeah, it is by virtue that there's 6 judges at this. When you get here, there's 6 judges on every event. So you throw the high and the low out and average the middle 4, and you get kind of weird final scores that way. But I think you get a little more accuracy. And our score was lower yesterday because we didn't do so well. Just bottom line on 2 events, we were not very good. But I think you do see it a little bit tighter just by virtue of the fact that you're getting a little more accuracy with 6 judges versus 2 or 4.
You put some 198 and changes up during the season. Is that, I mean, there's no way to tell, but is that what you think is going to take to win the national title? You got to go to 198.2, 198.3?
Typically, you better be pushing towards a 198 or a little bit above. Typically, that's not always the case. A high 197 is won it a bunch of times, but I think if you're pushing the 198 mark, you're right there in the mix.
Jay, we appreciate you taking time with us. What's the schedule the rest of the day before the championship tomorrow?
We just got back. We just were over at the arena, got a little stretch in, a little recovery, kind of roll out, and some visualization stuff. Came back to the hotel here. The team's with our sports psychologist doing a couple things right now. Then we'll get some lunch. And we've got a couple other media things we got to do this afternoon, and then dinner, and we'll have a team meeting tonight, kind of do a little walkthrough activity that we do, and then and get them ready for tomorrow, get them in bed, get them off their feet, and get ready to go.
We appreciate you taking time from your schedule, man. We're pulling for you, obviously, and we'll be glued in tomorrow afternoon. Good luck to you, Coach.
Good luck, Coach.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Go.
All right. Yes, indeed. Gymnastics coach Jay Clark in the championship tomorrow.
It was a fun watch yesterday, if not nerve-wracking, because at that one point in the final rotation, like they don't have a margin for error. The last 3 that are going on the floor here, they got to nail it, and they did. And you just the amount of pressure, because Jimmy, there's the slightest little wobble, and I'm new at this too, but I've been watching enough to where you start to see what you listen to the announcers. Okay, they're taking off for this. Just the slightest little wobble could cost you everything. Sure. And
they're pretty good, Joe.
They're very good. They are very, very good.
The competition, the margin for error should be tight.
In the national championships, absolutely.
Yeah.
It should.
Anyway, man, good stuff going there. We appreciate it. We're going to try and hook up with Macero again. He's on his way to Arizona, so we thank him for adjusting his schedule. Matt Fitzpatrick, the RBC Heritage, is on the leaderboard. He's at 10 under over Oberg, 8 under yesterday, so he'll be firing today. He'll be fine until Sunday. Ricky Fowler, 8 under. Keegan Bradley, 8 under. Siwoo Kim, Kitayama, Brennan, pot getter, all at 8 under your leaderboard at RBC Heritage. Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title, Ash A great team at Legacy Title. Ashley Donald, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, Mariana Haynes, Natalie and Bradford Smith. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody choose but you. Choose Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. Three best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
Troy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying the unseasonably warm weather up here in the Mid-Atlantic and getting ready for another fun weekend.
Yes, indeed. So, how we doing as we creeping toward the NFL draft? I mean, and we revisit this everything, but you sent me sort of the template, and man, it is just a wide range of regulations from state to state, huh?
Yeah, it has always been a tricky event to offer odds on, obviously being news-based, and legalized books are very hesitant to offer wide markets or leave them open because it is news-based, and there can be improprieties and people, as we've seen in the past, as we've mentioned this with the NBA draft year, Paulo Banchero and Jabari Smith, where the odds changed based on news just dramatically in the last few hours before the draft. It all depends on what region you're in. But there is a litany of, the ones that we still will offer sometimes is like really in the weeds live, in terms of next pick position, things like that, which can make fun if you're viewing it. I think one of the better markets that you guys do a good job at, and there's some people who really highlight it based off news and information, is just over-under pick. Because, especially in football, there's the debate between value versus need versus best available. But if a team that needs this guy or this position, perhaps that, it opens itself up to, a player not going for another 6 picks, which in a sport like basketball, it's more best available than positional need.
We in Louisiana, we do have the in-game available, but it's about 2 or 3 picks for obvious reasons in advance. Right. But you still have that in Louisiana.
Yeah. The main markets obviously are up. First overall pick, second overall pick. Number of cornerbacks taken in the first round. First rounders by position, positional specials, all sorts of things. And typically there's usually one that kind of throws people for a loop, whether it's that first wide receiver taken. We've had that in past years where the number one wide receiver has gone second in terms of wide receivers. So, very interesting. Take, for example, right now, Carnell Tate is 250 to be the second wide receiver drafted. Now, he's likely thought to be the first pick, or the first wide receiver drafted, but you never know. There are teams that certainly like Jordan Tyson and certainly like Makai Lemon. So there's definitely options. But the thing I should note is if you go to your book and you see that there aren't odds on the NFL draft, you certainly check to make sure you're in a region that allows it. And if you are, it's likely that they'll be posted again soon. There's a lot of taking up and putting down the odds as we get closer. So it is a very volatile and ever-changing and fluid market, so to speak.
Troy, you mentioned Jordan Tyson. He is having a workout today. It's the first time pro teams are going to get to look at him. It's a private workout. 18 teams will be there. The Saints are widely rumored for Tyson, but he did not have a pro day workout or at the combine. So we'll see if there's a lot of movement on him after today's workout.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of teams in need for him. And I would anticipate this being a trend going forward. We've seen it where players don't participate in the combine and they want a more tailored event like pro days, but then there are even players now who won't do the pro days because they want to even more tailor to themselves to really highlight their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. And they're doing it closer to the draft, which means, some reports come out that he dropped some balls, yada, yada. You could get a wide change of odds in just a few days leading up to the draft, which certainly changes things. So there's value to bet early, because it's changing on, but there's also value to weight. And especially in such a news-based event like this, I tend to lean towards the latter.
Charlie, talking about Tyson out of Arizona State, I mean, tremendously, productive, but missed a third of his games in injury.
It's not just one injury. Is the bothersome part. It's multiple injuries. It wasn't just 1 year. It was multiple years. And I think if he were 100% healthy, he'd probably be the number one pick, the number one wide receiver in this draft. Cornell Tate's probably going to be the top receiver off the board. But, the knock on Tate is that he's always played around these other guys that were taking the heat off of him. He never really had to be a true number one, and that was Jeremiah Smith. Tyson has been a number one. And if it wasn't multiple injuries, I think he'd be a lock top 10 pick in this draft. But he did run 4.3, I believe, at 4.37 in a workout recently.
Maybe in a workout.
Yeah, but today is a big day for him.
Coming off a hamstring injury this year. That's reportedly part of why we've seen the delays in his workouts. You mentioned the injuries. Multi-ligament knee injury 2 years ago. Last year, a collarbone injury. That's a little bit less, fluky. That's a little more fluky with the bone injury. But nevertheless, a hamstring is what he's coming off this past year.
Troy, what about I'm sorry, go ahead, Troy.
Is the NFL is a collision sport. It's like you are going to get injured. We know the players who spend their careers not getting injured because it's such an anomaly. That's, other than collecting the guaranteed money, one of the things we always talk about with Kirk Cousins is that he just never gets injured. Everyone gets injured. So I've heard people say, well, you don't really knock him for injuries because he's going to get injured again. Everyone does. But on the flip side, it's like, well, if you're already injury prone, that may happen early. You may not be able to recover in time. The speed and physicality is much better. So an injury that you occurred in college might be exacerbated very quickly at the pro level.
Talking about the Commanders, and we talked about Jeremiah Love a lot. We feel that they need to invest in that pick with a weapon for Jaden Daniels. I think it's a little bit. I'm always leery and skeptical. If you're not skeptical in some of the information that is leaked out, you're not paying attention to the draft historically. But Tennessee needs so many positions improved. So they're not a running back away from competing. You would add Genty. Yeah. And Love's a better prospect than Genty, but you just waste him. Saquon Barkley was wasted with the Giants because they had such a pitiful supporting cast. But I'm wondering if Tennessee's throwing out a little smoke screen there to try and increase the price of Washington moving up to 4 to get Love.
Oh, potentially, yeah. You look right now, Jeremiah Love is the short price at 2 picks, so it's 4th and 7th. And I believe, like you said, 4th is Titans, 7th is Commanders, plus 111 to go 4th. And then you look, and usually, he would drop down as the picks get longer and longer, but he's plus 225 to be the 7th overall pick. You don't really see that very often with the guy just the top or the shortest price at multiple different picks. But it's because so many teams need skill position help. I think the Browns, who are 6th right before the Commanders, there's been talk that they're interested in Jeremiah Love, which is a little interesting to me because I think who was the running back they had last year who's very good? Judkins, who didn't get a ton of hype but performed very well. They've done kind of committee better than a team like the Commanders have. I think Jeremiah Love's very good. I have nothing against getting a skill position of running back early. I think the days of multiple running backs in the first round are over, but that is a position of need if they're elite. But the thing, with the Commanders is the NFC Championship run really clouded the fact that they still don't have a great roster and they need help everywhere. So I don't really have, as a fan of the Commanders, I don't really have one person I want. I don't really want Cornell Tate, and because of the reasons you mentioned. I think he's good. I think he would work well with Terry McLaurin, obviously Ohio State, but I don't think he's electric, dynamic. I would rather have one of the more blue chip defensive players who are likely to be available at number 7.
Get back to the draft on the betting menu at Bet Rivers. What are more things that are going to open up as we get closer, and just the thought process behind that? And I guess everybody's, it's not involving competition, so everybody's guarded. with this. And has Bet Rivers been a winner or a loser? Because sports books love to whine and complain, and gosh, Nevada is out of control. But just as we approach, as broad, the whole booking a tricky event like the draft.
Yeah, so at team positions, you can bet on what position that each team will draft with their first round pick, and then ultimately second and third, and yada yada. And then that becomes more live as you get to the later round. In years past, it's been volatile in both directions. Where I believe if not last year, the year before, we took a decent-sized loss. Now, granted, it's not a huge betting event. People do like to do it. I think the discourse about it is probably more than the actual handle because it's regulated and limited in market. But if excuse me, if it gets weird and we do have some drafts that defy convention, that's where the public really wins because you're getting guys at long odds, 10-1, 13-1. To get picked in the lottery and or in the top 10, and those hit. So all it takes is a couple teams like the Raiders in years past doing things that no one expected. Even like when the Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, I remember that was not very short odds because people didn't see it coming. Penix Jr., when he got drafted by the Falcons, that was very long odds. No one saw that. So there are opportunities for the public to really take a win if the teams decide to go against kind of the mocks and what we think is going to happen before the draft actually begins.
Follow Troy on Twitter at Troy Macher, M-A-C-H-R. Troy, great stuff, man. We appreciate it. We'll get a last little conversation before the draft on Monday.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Don't forget our friends at Total Maintenance, one of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies since 1980. AC heating, generator installations, maintenance, it's warming up. So now's the time if you got to call them. And the great thing about when you call 480-1000 and call Total Maintenance if your unit is struggling, you call today, you get service today. You'll never sleep hot when you call 480-1000 and Total Maintenance. Lucas Ragusa has been working in every area of this whole operation. He knows exactly what it takes and the people to put in position to make it an efficient operation. Factory authorized dealers for Carrier and American Standard, Dakin and Rheem products. Generators, we're authorized dealer for Generac and Cummings as well. Again, you will never sleep hot. You call Total Maintenance, you get that unit breaks down. 480-1000, 480-1000.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And return here at Rufino's. Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net, Handycast up at YouTube, brought to you by Supreme Rice. Celebrating 90 years in business here in 2026, supporting our Louisiana farmers. Go to SupremeRice.com. Jalen Reese, the last player that was officially on LSU's roster, has put himself in the transfer portal. The freshman guard, about an hour ago, this news came out, and so then there were none, as Hunt Palmer put it on LouisianaSports.net. Jimmy, we talked about this a little bit yesterday off air, so it's time to be on air. You look at this and you go, okay, portal's been open for a week, and there's no players. How do you feel right this second?
Well, if I'm kind of a little bit skewed because I got a little bit of inside information, but yeah, on surface value, I'd be a little concerned. Knowing Will Wade and his reputation, less concerned. Knowing the information I do, even less concerned. Yeah. LSU is going to have a competitive roster next year for basketball, and there's some strategy involved, and not everything is going their way, but it's also this is a guy that is so layered in his planning for roster building. He is in. You know, it's continuing to evolve. You know, so I mean, but he is his planning and his layers of planning are in preparation. Charlie, this is just go back to when he first got here, and his plan A and B and C as far as when he lost Corey Davis, the JC guy from Lafayette who went on to Houston, was a leading scorer on a team that lost a heartbreaker to Kentucky in the Sweet 16, a heartbreaker. I mean, but he had Tremont Waters as a backup, and so that he's going to have a competitive roster. Just how good, just how competitive, we will see. But it is, and I would not be surprised if it's has a little bit of an international influence as well.
I'm not privy to the inside information you have. Here's what I do know, that at the beginning of the day yesterday, I didn't check this morning, but at the beginning of the day yesterday, here are the teams that had yet to add anybody in the transfer portal: Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, UConn, Michigan State, Texas Tech, St. John's, Wisconsin, Auburn, LSU, Vanderbilt. That's out of the power conferences.
Well, Auburn got Petaway back.
Pettiford.
I'm sorry, Pettiford.
Yeah, that was it. Like I said, I didn't check that this morning, but that was at the beginning of the day yesterday. So they're not the only ones that are keeping things, I think, pretty quiet. The second thing I know is that the auctioneering by the agents that are here, it is in your best interest to keep things as quiet as you can until you get everything absolutely 100% buttoned up, because they will shop your offer down the street. And among the biggest problems that I see at the transfer portal is not the kids themselves, but the skyrocketing percentages that these agents are taking. This is unchecked. Okay, you want to talk about a free market system? It's unchecked, and it is so much. These are union percentage. These are percentages that would never be agreed to by any union, but there is no union, and so these percentages are going unchecked. And believe me, for some of these agents, this is where their money is. And as soon as they sign somewhere, well, then the auction's over. So until you absolutely got it, absolutely sure, I understand why they're keeping things quiet. It's what I would do. I mean, I understand why the phone.
I don't know all the dynamics when it comes to that, but I could tell you this: in the previous staff, that'd be an excuse. Will knows there's no excuses. I mean, you can hate the game, you can hate the percentages that the agents are charging and exorbitant. You do all that and get it done.
No,
there's no excuses in recruiting.
Don't
you either get it done or
me.
you don't. And this guy has a track record of getting it done.
Don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about an excuse for getting it done. I'm talking about a reason that you're not hearing anything. Because
strategies can be flawed as well. Okay,
they can.
Okay, so I mean, I don't want to say that everything's fine because you're not hearing anything. Normally, I mean, still, I'm sure if they had landed one, there's a reason to what he's doing. I give him the benefit of the doubt because I know his history, I know his playing, I know how he has. He's got this. This is his strength as a coach. What has made him successful in getting to the tournament 8 out of 9 years, whatever it is, with 4 different schools at such a young age? This is it. This is a roster building, and he embraces the new era. I'm saying I think it's going to be okay. Just how okay, we'll see.
Hour number 2 at Rufino's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
He's out there somewhere in the world. Maybe even your local sports book.
Can anybody help us?
Let's bring in Bruce Marshall.
And we welcome you back in here at Rufino's, where the appetizer feature includes the scallops and the whipped ricotta, 20-ounce dry-aged pork chops on your entree features, and the 8-ounce filet mignon with glazed carrots on the side here at Rufino's. And the smoked maple old fashion's back for a second week. Hey, listen, we sampled these last week just to make sure.
What's that?
The smoked maple old
fashioned.
Oh,
you did?
I did.
Oh, I didn't.
That's
come on, man, share.
That's your problem, man. Order for yourself.
I understand, Charlie. I understand.
I'd be happy to share with you if you ask.
Let's go out to Las Vegas. Our buddy Bruce Marshall. Brucey, how you doing, buddy?
I am good, but I will have to admit, though, boys, I am strangely missing the last month of the NBA season because I look forward to the Jazz and the Grizzlies and the Nets and the Wizards, and you had chances to go against them. And now actually the NBA is pretty good, watching at least, but I sort of miss those bad teams because they made the handicapping a lot more fun.
It's time for Silver to make some tough decisions. Some unpopular with the players. It's gotten ridiculous, but it's we've talked to this with multiple guests this week, Bruce, and this is the worst NBA regular season we can ever remember. But then you have a great start, and listen, none of these teams are really going to make a run. I mean, it's very difficult for these teams to come out, survive the play-in, and make a run the way it's set. But, man, these games have been really good, really good. It's a great sport. It's a high level of sport. They've been great atmospheres, and it just shows you in the sense of, like, man, this is really good. It tells you how damn bad the regular season is. I just shut it off, man. I mean, me and Charlie just shut it off until, March Madness and the Masters are over, and then, okay, let's play for real. So I've always been a believer that the game is different. I think the NFL, the regular season, the postseason, you see those wide receivers in the regular season, every downfield pass that's incomplete, the receiver's complaining for a flag. They shut that out immediately. They let them play a lot more. We know about every postseason is different, but the disparity between the regular season in the NBA and the postseason is unbelievable. I don't know what else to compare it to, Bruce.
You're right, Jimmy. I don't either. Just by comparison's sake, the NHL this past week, Vancouver having a miserable season this year. Worst team in the league, way the bottom. Yet in the last week, now they lost their game last night at Edmonton, but they played 3 games on the road: San Jose, Anaheim, and the Kings. All teams in the playoff hunt. Vancouver won each of those games, either in a shootout or overtime. I mean, they were playing hard, and they were. That pretty much knocked the Sharks out of the playoffs. It could have knocked Anaheim out. It hurt the Kings in their placing. Vancouver had nothing actually to play, and they kept playing hard. I went to the Raiders-Giants game last December, right second to last week of the regular season. Now, Raiders were, bad. That was sort of, at that point, the Giants, if they'd lost, they would have had the first pick in the draft. It ended up being the Raiders. The Giants played that game like it was the Super Bowl. I mean, they really came out and played. I blew out the Raiders. Now, Raiders would say, okay, they were just playing for the first pick. Well, no, they just weren't any good. Pete Carroll's not doing that to get fired. He's not trying to lose the game. They just weren't any good. The Giants played hard. The bottom line is, these other sports, you see these teams playing really hard. And in the NBA, once it's like you can't make the playoffs, this tanking thing became a disease. And the spectacle just got so diluted the last 2 months. It's better now in the playoffs, but it is sort of unique to the NBA and not good. They're the only, you just don't see those other sports teams just completely, and so many of them, packing it in and heading south the way they do in the NBA. It really is something. I know Adam Silver is really concerned about it. It just keeps getting worse, and these remedies they keep coming up with, my God, they shouldn't have to be doing that. There should be a, professional pride or whatever.
I know you'll remember this. Back in the 80s, your favorite team, the Lakers, right? They were fined by David Stern twice, in 1985 and again in 1990, for sitting Magic and Kareem in 85, and Magic and Worthy and Byron Scott and Michael Thompson in 1990 for the last game of the season only, when the Lakers' position was locked in, and they fined them what seems like a minuscule amount of money now, but was a significant fine back then. And I did a little bit more reading on this. Not only was Portland's team, because they were selling their games on pay-per-view at the time, but there were other owners in the league that were like, man, you got to stop this. You got to stop this right now. And this was one game at the end of 82 when the positions were locked, and Stern laid the hammer on the Lakers. And Jerry Buss said, you know what? We'll pay the fine, because if they had done this to us coming to L.A., we'd feel the same way. So you had some unity among other owners that weren't even involved in this. To me, this is where Silver's solution is. You got to come down with a financial fine that makes them pay attention? Is it $1 million and then it doubles every time you do this, and enforcement would be tough?
Charlie, Stern and Silver are on opposite ends of the world.
But Silver's got a blueprint, okay? It's not like this has never happened before. This happened 40 years ago, and the commissioner fixed it.
He's weak.
Really? Well, that's where I'm going.
He's
Bruce,
extremely weak.
Yes, of course he is. Bruce, you remember that scenario with the Lakers and Jerry Buss?
I sure do, and you're right. It was just like for one game, and Stern threw a fit, and the fan bases threw kind of a fit too. Here's the other weird thing, though, because there's so much, and the way these teams are all trying to jockey for that position in the draft and to get a chance to draft higher. Of the top contenders now, Oklahoma City, they sort of went through a retool. But, I mean, in their lineup, the only really high, Holmgren was a number 2 pick. But SGA came via trade. Jalen Williams came late first round. Lou Dort might have even been a second round. I mean, Hardenstein he played, elsewhere in his career until 2 years ago. They didn't have to tank to build that team. The Celtics, the biggest move the Celtics made, and there, I think in the closest thing I've seen to the Herschel Walker trade with the Dallas and the Vikings was the trade where they moved Garnett out in that trade with Brooklyn, but that gave several draft picks in upcoming years, and they ended up being 3s in back-to-back years. They got Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But those were done via trades. They weren't done via tanking. And Oklahoma City, I think, is a great example. They didn't, they had to sort of retool, but they didn't just completely go on the tank to try to build through the draft. They found it. You built through free agency and trades. That used to be how you did it. And these teams that just think they have to, they're jockeying for the draft pick, and they want to get the top pick, and it's just, that's not always the way to build a contender.
All right, let's get to the games. And tonight we got 2 survival or advance, and the Hornets. LaMelo Ball can't shoot any worse from 3-point. He's 2 of 16. And Con Knippel is coming down to the wire for the Rookie of the Year. 0 for 6 and benched. 0 for 6 from 3. 2 of 12 from the field and benched in the final quarter. And probably a good move there. It was a wild game, exciting game. But Hornets on the road, 3.5. And everybody says the Magic, man, they've just disconnected from their coach. And as soon as they're eliminated, they'd be fired. But a rare road favorite here in a decisive game in this play-in.
Yeah, Jimmy, it sure looks like that with Orlando. And then I wonder if Jamal Mosley, who I thought had done a pretty good job keeping this thing afloat, and then, Orlando sort of, built itself patiently, and they brought in Desmond Bain this year. They thought that's going to be the link. They never, they've got, Franz Wagner came back, but, they haven't had the big 3 available at the same time too often, but it does look like maybe they have sort of disconnected with Mosley, and there was some spark really missing. They played actually okay the last, 2 weeks of the season after kind of floundering, but that was sure floundering against the Sixers without Embiid the other night. I am still a little bit surprised at this price, though. Now you're favoring Charlotte on the road, but they have generally played very well since about mid-January, and as long as LaMelo isn't going to get suspended for the thing with the Bam pulling his legs up from under him the other night. Charlotte's a dangerous team. There's a lot of people who think this looks like a younger version of the Celtics, and they'll need Knippel to start to shoot better than he did the other night. But there's a bunch of guys on this team, whether it be LaMelo or Miller or Bridges. They do look a little bit like a young version of the Celtics. So I'm just reluctant to go with Orlando. I think there is something wrong there. And some people have said they don't know that if Banchero is, he might be part of the problem too. We'll see, but they look like a dangerous recommendation to me. Maybe Charlotte does pull it out.
Oh, Banchero's play is letting you know what he feels about his coach. There's no question about that. And as far as the decision on that case, here's Silver can step in and could suspend him. For the game. Stern suspended a whole bunch of guys for the Heat Knicks series back in the day. But listen, we can make a case, but you don't never know. But Bam Adebayo plays 11 minutes. They lose in overtime. They're going to win if he's not knocked out. And it was a cheap thing, and he decided to go weak. A little slap on the hand. Again, so more evidence like you needed that, Adam Silver. Until he shows us otherwise, he's extremely weak, and you can only expect that. Let's get to Phoenix in Golden State. Golden State turned back the clock night. How about that? They scored over 40 points in the last 9 and change in the game to storm back against the Clippers. Clippers, their own internal issues there, pouting as well as soon as they traded Harden. And, man, one of the worst starts, one of the best runs in the NBA, and then they just kind of pouted down the stretch and getting swept home and home to lose the 8 seed to a 9 seed to Portland, and now Phoenix is 3.5. And a lot the narrative there, everybody kind of feeling a little Golden State nostalgia because they pulled it out in the fourth quarter a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, they did. I was watching that game and I was commenting to my wife. I said, "Look at these old guys. I mean, they are all, Draymond and Horford and Steph." And my wife says, "How old are those guys?" I said, "Well, I think Draymond's 36 and Steph's, I think, 38. Horford's almost 40. And she said, "They could all be your sons. You're not that. You're not young like those guys. Those guys aren't old." Anyway, the Graybeards did come through. 8 triples in the fourth quarter. I thought the Clippers contributed to that. The Clippers were in control of that game until the last few minutes. Some real sloppy ball handling. Couldn't get the ball in bounds, and they kind of let Draymond kind of really started getting aggressive on Kawhi, and they weren't able to answer. I think it's going to be a lot tougher for Golden State tonight. Listen, I know down the stretch, Steph missed 2 months. Jimmy Butler's been out since mid-January. They closed 12-26. Now it was like we said, Steph out and no Butler. Obviously, I mean, it's a depleted team. Butler's still not there. Porzingis is an interesting, his availability, which is sort of a game-by-game thing, but he does make a difference. But I think Phoenix is a different beast than the Clippers. They really spread the floor. They have more athleticism than the Clippers. I think that's a problem for Golden State. The way Booker can shoot, Booker scored almost 34 per game and 3 against Golden State this year. Now, he missed one of the games and they lost that one. They did lose 3 or 4 to Golden State, but some of those were very early in the season when Butler was still playing. And Dylan Brooks, a slasher, who can really get to them. The fundamentals just on the surface look much more difficult for Golden State here, and I think that's a one-game thing for Golden State. I don't think they're built to do that again. Like I said, 8 triples in the fourth quarter. That was just like one out of memory for those guys. Phoenix had Portland dead to rights, and then Avia just went off in the fourth quarter. I think Phoenix gets them tonight and advances on.
All right, we spent too much time wanting about the regular season, so 8 games now for Saturday and Sunday, a couple of quadruple headers. So quickly, Bruce, your top 1 or 2. Cavaliers 8.5 over the Raptors, Nuggets 6.5 over the T-Wolves, Knicks 5.5 over the Hawks, Houston 5.5 over the Lakers, Boston 12.5 over the Sixers, the TBD setups, and then the Spurs 10.5 over the Blazers.
Yeah, I mean, if Minnesota, if I knew Minnesota was fully healthy, I might give them a shot. They have given Denver some problems in the past, but I kind of want to see what Minnesota can do. So I might sit that one out. The Knicks, I think, I may just get on the Knicks here. I know Atlanta had a nice run the second half of the season, but something tells me the Knicks, might be able to, the all hands are on deck, and they might be worth a look. I'd be reluctant to lay points with Houston here, even though Luke was out for the Lakers. Houston did start winning some games later in the season, but they aren't the same team they were the first month and a half. LeBron is still there for the Lakers, plus the points maybe for the Lakers. And on Sunday, I know we're going to lay a lot of points for Boston. I would probably still do it with the Celtics there. If Embiid is out, I mean, I think that was just Orlando completely collapsing in the play-in game for Philadelphia. It won't be that easy here. Boston, I think, is still the team to beat in the East, and I would lay the big points Sunday.
All right, Brucey, thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you next week. Good luck to you.
Thank you, guys.
Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow, including their newest branch at Burbank and Bluebonnet. United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support the hardworking folks behind local business, from initial startup loans all the way to ongoing planning and assessment. United Community Bank is here for you to stop by any of our branches and discuss with our great team of bankers and how we can help your business today. David Henry, David Campbell, Hunter Creed, Nicole Glover, Heath Meir, and Prentice Wilkes. Just United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There we go. Let's go out to, I guess, en route. Let's see where you are. Chris Massaro joins us right now. We apologize, Chris. We had to shake up some things, man. We appreciate you being flexible. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Hey, nothing like being preempted by Livy Dunn's coach. That's fine. No problem at all.
There you go. There you go. Hey, so tell us your plan. What you going to do? You going to make some mobile bets? What's going on?
Yeah, well, the situation I'd like to do with, the DraftKings and the FanDuels of the world is they let you parlay certain things. So I do kind of have it covered, I think, in the East. I think it's going to be either Boston, Detroit, or the Knicks. I don't believe in Cleveland, and I don't have much on Boston at all because I never thought Tatum was going to come back, and I didn't think the run of this sharpshooting young Bucks was going to be sustainable throughout the year. And the West, I'm covered with OKC and the Spurs. I don't have much on Denver. So I'm going to go out there and try to manipulate it a little bit, play both ways, maybe add some Celtics-Denver, finals matchup, maybe a little bit Celtics over OKC in a finals matchup. I haven't really decided my exact plan. And then for the NHL, I have some big long shots as well. I have the Bruins at 100-1 for the Eastern Conference, and I have the Flyers at 500-1 to win the Cup. So again, they let you parlay opposite series, so I could take, the Penguins, who's playing the Flyers, and I could take the Sabres, who are playing the Bruins, and I could parlay the series together. So just in case both of my teams go out in the first round, I'll still get paid off.
Hey,
so I like the fact that they let you do that, and just some of these places don't let you do that at all, but DraftKings and FanDuels of the world, they let you really stretch the envelope there.
Hey, your team, the Celtics, okay, the Tatum, and it looks like, he came back and he played as much as he could. He's doing everything he can. Brown carried him. They developed some other guys. White's not playing good. Is he going to be able to blend in and kind of redefine his role and kind of just, are they going to be able to max out in the playoffs and get him back?
Well, I'll tell you, the number one thing, if you've been watching the Celtics the last couple of weeks, the defense has just been absolutely incredible. They just, we can kind of relate it to what happened a couple nights ago in the playing games. When these teams are trying, it's a different type of game. And I feel like the Celtics are one of the teams that have tried the entire season. Missoula just doesn't have that tanking gene, or he doesn't have it in his body. Most people thought, what was the over-under for the Celtics this year? 41.5, 42 games. They go out and win 56 games with a depleted roster, no Tatum, working in guys that, you probably never heard of unless you're a big-time college basketball fan. Bailey Scheinman from Creighton, just an unbelievable performer. Jordan Walsh, the Hugo kid from Spain. Just a lot of different working parts. The Cada guy that they got that Sacramento just gave away. Sacramento, let's talk about them just for a half a second. You talk about the Pelicans as a troubled franchise. The Sacramento Kings, they gave away Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox, and Cada. That'd be a nice three-man, three guys to start a team around. Just unbelievable. The Celtics just have a lot of guys who try very hard, especially on defense, and they have some great sharpshooters. And it's just been, can that go all the way through the playoffs? Can Tatum integrate back in? He's doing a lot of the little things. He's not playing the hero ball. He's a great rebounder. He's a great passer. He's not exactly 100% back from where he was before the injury, but you don't have to be because Jaylen Brown's having a great year. The one thing that always concerns me about the Celtics is they live and die by the three, and in the first round they're facing a Philly team that defends the three, ninth best three-point shooting defense in the NBA. So if maybe they can get Embiid back for the back end of that series, I think the series might be a little tighter than, I saw minus 1,200 yesterday. I would never lay that for the Celtics. Maybe you get cute, take Philly plus 2.5, plus 1.5 games. Maybe it goes to a Game 7. Celtics have been known to blow some big-time series in the past as big-time favorites. Even last year, huge favorites against the Knicks. They go down. We've seen it in the past. They lost to the Heat as a play-in game 2 years ago or 3 years back. So it can happen. The Celtics have been apt to blow some big-time prices.
What if form holds and they match up with the Knicks again? And the Knicks just, because they've had their struggles this year, but Brunson, when it slows down in the half court, it's so tough, man. And is that a matchup concern, or is Boston, adjusted their style of play enough to have a better chance this time?
I think it's definitely a concern. The Knicks are not afraid to play the Celtics. They match up well with them. We saw what they did to them last year in the playoffs. And the main reason that is they have OG Anunoby, who's there, who was the Celtics and Tatum's Achilles heel. He defends the big wings exceptionally well. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA, should be on an all-NBA defensive team this year. And that is definitely a concern, especially when the threes are not falling, because it becomes more difficult for the Tatums or the Browns when they're going up against Anunoby to get to the hoop, especially when you have Towns and you have Mitchell defending the rim, two bigger guys in the paint. It could be an issue for the Celtics. That's why I really think Detroit, with the home court advantage at 5-1, is a good bet still. Everyone's forgetting about Detroit. They won 60 games, in the regular season, 31-9 at home. Just a really, really solid team. I don't understand why they're the fourth choice in the East. I get the Celtics love, I guess. I'm not a fan of Cleveland. Cleveland being the second choice is a head scratcher to me, especially if they're going to have to play Detroit in the next round. Detroit has the home court advantage. How could Detroit be second fiddle to the Cavs when we've seen what James Harden's done in games 5 and 6 and 7 in these series? He falls asleep. He's not on the grid, and their defense has really, really suffered since he's come over to the Cavs. I don't buy Cleveland at all. I'd be more inclined to think Detroit comes out of the East before the Cavaliers. And the Celtics, if they're hitting their threes, they're going to be tough to beat. But I think it's a tough matchup versus the Knicks. I would not be surprised if we're looking at a Knicks-Pistons Eastern Conference Final.
Do you like anything in the playing games tonight? Both 3.5. Charlotte 3.5 on the road, and Phoenix 3.5 at home.
It looks almost too good to be true, and when that happens, you kind of got to either scratch your head or stay away. I have some big closing parlays to Charlotte to make the playoffs. It's another reason why I'm heading out to Arizona today to see what the cash outs are. It just looks too easy. Orlando's played terrible lately. They gave the game away against the Celtics on Sunday. They couldn't make a shot down the stretch against Philly the other night on Wednesday. I just don't have much confidence in this Orlando team. And you just figure Charlotte, with all these sharpshooters, some of these threes are going to fall. They weren't falling the other night. LaMelo Ball 2 for 14, Con Knipple 0 for 6. You figure some positive shooting regression. And then the other game, how do you go against Steph Curry? But it just seems too easy. So I would be buyer beware. But it does look like, just the average bettor is going to come in and say, give me Charlotte on the money line and give me the points with Golden State. That's what it seems like. Phoenix's struggles in the half court too. They don't have much offense going on. Booker only took 12 shots the other night. They're doing the bully ball with Dylan Brooks. I would just take, if it was a gun to my head, I would take Steph Curry and I would take Charlotte on the money line. But I'm not going to I don't have any plays in the game because I'm kind of massaging my futures and what I need for Charlotte to make the playoffs.
Minor correction, but to either further your point, LaMelo just missed 2 more. He was 2 of 16 from 3 the other night. Yeah. So,
what do they say? Leave the room, buddy. If it's not going in, pass the ball. You got Brandon Miller is having a good night, and
that's the problem. The balls in reading doesn't mix, so this just ends.
Sweep the leg. Yes, Sensei.
Yeah, it's just, Silver acting strong, though, but he got everything under control. The matchups tomorrow, I like the Knicks tomorrow laying the 5.5 against the Hawks. I think it's a good price. I think they're going to kind of get it and going a little bit. teams, they've got a test. And let's face it, the Pacers series, they had some tough luck, man. Some of the Halliburton shot that bounces straight up and bounces in. I mean, just bizarre stuff. I think they had their own self-induced problems as well. But man, they just seem like they're built for the postseason, got a lot of things in place. In Atlanta, I am not a believer in. That's my favorite pick. Of the 6 matchups that are set up for Saturday and Sunday, who's your favorite?
Well, I would tend to agree with you there. The Knicks have a great matchup advantage against the Hawks down low, especially Mitchell, Towns. They also have that playoff experience. Atlanta just, they had this late run in the end of the season, but it was mostly against the bottom feeders of the league. Give them credit. They were in 4th place. They came all the way back and won that division. I tend to lean on the Knicks winning that series. Like I said, I think they're going to be in the Eastern Conference Final. I think they can beat the Celtics. They match up well against them. You know what? I feel like Denver is kind of on a mission. I don't like the fact that Anthony Edwards, who they need to be, they need him at full bore to have any shot to beat the Nuggets. The Nuggets have won 12 in a row. They're on a little bit of a mission. They're as healthy as they've been all year. I don't think Anthony Edwards only playing 75 minutes in the past month is going to be enough to be ready for that series. I remember last year he was kind of out of gas. The year before, he was kind of out of gas. I know they made it to the conference finals both years, but I don't think him just only playing 75 minutes over the last month is going to get him ready. I feel like Denver should be able to take out Minnesota in that series, and I like them in Game 1. I would also lean to Philadelphia plus 12.5. I've seen the Celtics lay eggs in these first games of these series. Maybe you take Philly in the first half, Celtics with the whole week off, getting some guys, the main 6 guys did not play in that game against Orlando. So over a week off for the Celtics main starters and the 6 guys in the rotation, maybe you catch Philly, who just played a nice game against Orlando. You get them in the first quarter and the first half. Seeing the Celtics lay an egg in these first games of these series over the past few years.
All right, you going to Arizona, you're going to have a much, much more expanded draft platform. Anything you're looking at to try and get down in the draft?
Oh, it's really tough. I heard you guys talking about the receiver from Arizona State, Jordan Tyson. I've heard a lot of bad things about him, but when I watch him play, he is a difference maker. I would like to think he's going to go under, or however you want to say it, under his draft number. I'm really impressed with him. He was a total game changer when he was on the field. That offense was night and day without him on the field. So, injuries aside, I know that's obviously a big thing when you're a wide receiver, but he was very eye-catching to me. I would maybe look at an under prop on him in the draft.
Very good. Chris, travel safely, brother. We appreciate it, man. We will talk to you next week. Good luck to you this weekend.
I will have a college basketball one. I will tweet it out, and I'll put it on. I'll tag you and Charlie on it. I don't want to give it out yet because I don't want to, who knows? Maybe I might affect the odds. I don't want to affect any odds.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Let us know. I got to wait 11 months. I got to wait 11 months for this one to have to come to fruition, but I really like it, and I think the odds are definitely off, and hopefully when I arrive, they'll still be where I'm looking at them.
There you go. All right, brother. Thank you, man.
Padres on the verge of being sold. Speaking of down in San Diego, $3.9 billion record price.
Good time to go on a run, man. They have been unbelievable. 8-game winning streak. It's just, Charlie, we talked about it yesterday. We got off that. You could put it down. Mike Trout with the 500-foot home run. They marked it like 459. Give me a break. How many balls do you see hit in Yankee Stadium where he crushed that ball? He's the first one to go at a Yankees in homer 4 straight days. 5. I mean, it's going to be when he goes to Cooperstown, they're going to roll that series. It was something else. And look, the Angels, it's one of those things, man. You had all kinds of ninth inning comebacks. The Rangers came back in the ninth inning to win. After losing a 6-1 lead, the Tigers came back from 2 runs in the ninth to beat the Royals. Royals finally scored some runs. They had scored 2 or less in 8 out of 9 games, and they scored 9 and still couldn't hold on yesterday. It's been a fun start to the Major League Baseball. Long way to go. I get it. Long way to go, but you got some, and the Pirates. I mean, they lost a tough one yesterday. That bullpen is the one thing they got to get, but they just scored. This is a different lineup completely than what they've like Skeens was getting 1 and 0 runs in 6 innings every game.
See, I think that's good news for the Pirates because that's a piece that you can add affordably. A bullpen arm, not necessarily a closer, but some bullpen arms. You can add those at the All-Star break without breaking the bank. So if that's the whole, that's easy enough to fix without going crazy. We're brought to you by the Thibodeau Store, the Pierre Part Store, open in La Rose and Lockport. If you got your spring gardening, yard work, things like that, big specials right now on the website on Miracle Grow, on potting soil, on all of your lawn and garden tools and equipment. Available right now once you get the yard and the back patio in gear. Big specials right now on the Broil King grills, also on patio furniture and the gas griddles from Pit Boss, all on special right now. Go to thethibodeaustore.com. It'll get you to all 4 of those sites. And now, lumber delivery coming to all 4 sites here next month. So if you got some building projects that are coming up, Thibodeau Store will be able to take care of you at all 4 locations. That's coming up in the month of May. Again, the website is thethibodeaustore.com, the Thibodeau Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau. Live at lunch from Rufino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And return here at Rufino's. Come by and see us for lunch. The scallops and the whipped ricotta. Your appetizer features today along with the 20-ounce dry-aged pork chops and the 8-ounce filet mignon here on special today at Rufino's. Jimmy, what's going on in South Carolina?
Oh, man, Fitzpatrick is just knocking down bomb putt after bomb putt. He hit a 35-footer on 15. He just came up a couple inches wide. I mean, perfect speed on 16, but he has a 4-stroke lead. Patrick Cantlay sighting in South Carolina. He is done for the day, 64. They're scoring. So Oberg, the leader after 1, he is teeing off in right now. So he starts today at 8 under. Ricky Fowler's done with 8 under today. English is through 4 today at 8 under. And the Norwegian,
he's about to bogey.
Mr.
Hovland.
Mr. Victor Hovland is starting today at 7 under. So Scheffler kind of just kind of spinning his wheels a little bit. Can't quite, get blistering hot. He's 3 under for today. He might finish 8 under, so 4 under. That's not going to win. That's not going to win this tournament.
Fitzpatrick probably about to birdie as well in 17. He's got 7 feet. He's a former champion here. He loves Harbortown. He's got it on his golf bag, like one of the head covers of the Lighthouse. So
yesterday, Brooks Koepka, this is an elevated event. Yesterday, Brooks Koepka spent the whole day hoping to get into this tournament. This is part of his punishment coming back to the PGA Tour. He was waiting for somebody to withdraw. Nobody ever did, so he stuck around the whole day and then didn't get in the tournament. Live Golf CEO Scott O'Neill said yesterday that it is full, the season will continue at full throttle, and that he had met with people at the Masters and rolled out a plan that might surprise some people. Max, what does that mean?
Well, it means they're looking for private equity to basically fund their league because they're losing.
They're out of money?
They're out of money.
I thought they couldn't run out of money.
Saudi PIF has them essentially, according to him, funded through the end of the year, and that's it.
They opened a straight today. They pick up some money. The Straight of Hormuz today.
Who knows? But I think Saudi's done with this, so they're going to have to find somebody else to foot the bill. And does anyone really want to invest in a loser that won't?
You really got to wonder who has enough money to invest in this if the Saudis have said no joy.
I mean, Scott O'Neill, who is the commissioner and putting rose-colored glasses on everything, has basically said they wouldn't be profitable in another 5 to 10 years at least. So I mean, he's telling you that this is not profitable.
Oh, where do I put my money then?
Yeah, I don't see this happening. Interesting news as well. It does look like they're going to have the rest of the season. Some of the Kalshi, the prediction market odds are suggesting their next tournament is going to happen at about 83%. The Louisiana Economic Development Secretary, Susan Bourgeois, of course, is interested in what's going to happen at the June event in New Orleans.
Deadline.
She said, we are concerned about the reports this week. They are in Mexico, but as I said, by Monday, we need to have a candid conversation about where this stands. So they pump some money into Bayou Oaks, the city park course there. They also are going to give some money to Live if this thing happens, just for them to come here. So they want some answers as to where this stands and if it's solid and set for June.
I don't blame her one bit. Jimmy and I have both put together golf tournaments on a local level. Jimmy, how many different details you have just for a little local golf tournament to raise money for a charity. A golf tournament of this magnitude, how many sponsors, how many volunteers, how many employees, the scope of putting something like this on, and you leave me holding the bag, before that can't happen. There's just too many things. I don't blame her for putting the deadline on them. Now, I don't know if she can hold them to it.
Right. I mean, what can you say? You've got to come here or not, or what?
This requires a leap of faith. If he says, "Yeah, we got it," they get to June the 10th and go, "Oh well."
I think the interesting thing, the folding chairs here would be, Bryson's very frustrated today about the course conditions in Mexico. What happens if some of the players who say, "Look, you might be saying we're good for the rest of the year, but I've got to worry about myself, and the longer I stay here on what could be a lame duck season, the longer I get suspended, perhaps, on my return back to the PGA Tour." So do you see some players defect and basically say, look, I need some guarantees past this year. I can't just keep playing golf on this tour that's going to be over with at the end of the year. So I'm curious to see if there's some player movement that kind of forces hands with the rest of the season. But it does seem like this is probably the last year of LIV as we know it with the Saudi investment.
I wonder if they've all been paid. The players I'm talking about.
Well, not all of it was up front, but again, like
Louisiana gave them $7 million as a host fee.
As I understand it, I believe about 2 of it was to the golf course itself, so that would stay here. Some of it, we'll see how much they could get back if it doesn't end up coming here. But the important thing, like I said, I mean, if you're a player, you push your clock back for every event you play. And so at some point, are you worried about, well, what about after LIV? If this is the last year, what happens to me after? Maybe you see some players say, you know what, I've got to leave here before the season's even over.
I need to correct you on it. Charlie, you said that the Saudis ran out of money. They did not run out of money.
They ran out of money.
They ran out of money that they're willing to invest in
right.
in this sinking ship.
Yeah.
Okay, and so who in their right mind is going to want to invest? And I guess the $1 million question is: had the PGA not adjusted, and they kind of woke them up and got them off of their complacency, would LIV have had the same result?
Well, I don't know. The PGA Tour's taken back momentum, and that's really kind of turned things.
They've adjusted.
If anything, they've added Brooks. Right, this was a better year in the off season for the PGA Tour than LIV. LIV didn't really add anybody of substance, so that's turned. I'm curious if LIV does cease to exist. They have been saying that the purses are unsustainable, that they are paying an unsustainable amount. They're asking sponsors to foot the bill on these $20 million signature events like we're seeing this week. Would they have to go backwards on those purses now that they don't have competitors? I think it would be curious to see, can they roll that back?
Yeah, last thing, if LIV goes by the wayside at the end of this season, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, how will we look at Phil Mickelson and Greg Norman as saying, guys, look, this has improved the PGA Tour. We didn't like the way they went about it, but it got done what we wanted.
I think they're black cats forever. I don't think it really matters. I mean, I'd be curious to see Phil as a broadcaster, but that's done. I don't see him being a Ryder Cup captain or anything like that. I mean, it would take at least 5 to 10 years for them to be, I think, forgiven or looked back on differently on this. I don't think they were too vocal in this. They were too much pawns for, let's be honest, a regime who was using this for leverage for other things. I mean, there's so many moving parts to this. They knew it was a losing matter for them monetarily. They wanted access. They wanted the world to see them differently, and that's ultimately, I guess, run its course at this point. They just don't think it's worth the cost they're putting into this. But I don't think LIV really thought this was going to be a net winner, a moneymaker for the Saudi Arabia investment fund. I think it was for a lot of other things, and I think Phil and Greg Norman will be looked at as somewhat used by that.
I don't know. They may have viewed it as a vulnerable industry to kind of come in.
I mean, look, they've come in on Formula One, and they are certainly involved at that, and that's worked for them. But I just, at this point, we knew that the writing was on the wall for LIV 2 years ago. It was not going to work anymore, and so
how long did the caddies fly private? What I want to know.
About a year and a half, I want to say.
There you go.
And
so
then it
last
was
18 months.
So they knew this was
I'm not retiring, Charlie, but if I do, I want to go back as a LIV
caddy.
Flying private. Yeah.
Sure. Nice.
Those plane rides look pretty good.
Good work if you can get it. We'll come back and wrap things up live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LSU and A&M 3-game set. The box tonight starts at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock tomorrow night, 1 o'clock on Sunday. Like Adrian told Rocky, win. LSU needs these games this weekend. We got playoff hockey, playoff basketball all weekend long. Jimmy, no Otterlocks on Fridays. So what's some of your best thoughts about the opening round?
Start out with tonight, and I'm looking for Phoenix to close it out this time. They were in position, had the double-digit lead late against Portland. Portland went nuts. Jewish Jordan just killed them down the stretch, too, man. He was really fun to watch with 40 points in that game. But the Sun, listen, it was nice. It was the old-timers club with Horford and Steph, and I understand they're capable, and Draymond, but come on, man. This is a sliding team that they faced and came back in the Clippers. Phoenix a little bit more equipped here. I think Phoenix will close them out in minus a 3.5. Tomorrow, I talked about the Knicks. Major matchup advantage here for the Knicks. Hawks, like you said, Charlotte had such a horrible start, so they were too far to kind of contend for the divisional title there. And then Orlando was just, talk about a mess, and they can't wait to get rid of their coach. So give me the Knicks at home minus a soft number at 5.5 and that one. And then Sunday, Charlie, I'm going to take the Spurs, man. $1 million question. Going to be fun to watch. I mean, they have been really, really impressive, but they have zero playoff experience. But that Wemby, man, nobody impacts a game like him, man. He is something to watch. I'm taking the Spurs minus the big points. This is going to be another major matchup issue for the Blazers there. So I'm taking the Spurs minus the 10.5. Spurs, Suns, and Knicks.
Jimmy and Charlie gave out their college baseball plays. 3 games tonight on the College Sports Rush YouTube channel, where you get your podcast. It'll do that every Thursday. College Sports Rush YouTube channel or podcast feed.
Thanks to Rufino's. The scallops, the whipped ricotta, the dry-aged pork chops, and the filet mignon on special here. Everybody have a great weekend, and stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.